Early in the morning of May 24th, 1993, everybody seemed cheerful and joyous. That night was to be Eritrea's birthday, and everything seemed to be in order. Independence Square was crowded and buses were coming in from everywhere. It was as if nobody had stayed at home. Traffic police were directing the crowd politely, but their radiant faces revealed their overwhelmed emotions. After waiting for a long time, the long line moved closer to the gates of Independence Square. He could hear the euphoric roars of the crowd inside. After showing a guard his papers, he melted into the crowd inside. Songs and cheers were the activities of the evening, and he even found himself leading a big crowd in a song of Eritrean defiance. After foreign guests and government representatives gave their congratulatory wishes and goodwill, a tall and firm-bodied fighter, symbolic of Eritrea's heroes, started hoisting an Eritrean flag to the pole. Fireworks lit the sky. The birth of a nation was in the making. The continuous roar of fireworks melted the crowd's hearts. His sister looked up at the fireworks and exclaimed, "Eritrea is free forever." His eyes followed traces of a falling firework light, and a sudden realization of how close Independence Square to my jihad was made him smile, and turned back to his sister's eyes that were glistening with colorful firework lights. Something warm surged in his heart. Something nostalgic, something that came from the past. Vroom, vroom. The dusts of Eritrea. They were a bunch of kids set out to fast on a Good Friday. They dared to go a little further out than their normal ventures, all the way to my jihad. They vowed not to eat, not even swallow their saliva until the evening hours. Just like the adults. Of course, everyone started bragging how far he could go without food and water. So they started their little journey around 8 a.m. without eating breakfast. They got as far out as they thought was the end of the world, and after what seemed eternity, just around 9:30 a.m., everyone's face started turning gray with chapped and drying lips. Some adamantly swore they didn't swallow their saliva even when their throats could be seen moving up and down. Then someone evil from the group suggested that they play some soccer. Everyone cursed him quietly, but no one dared to show signs of weakness. So the game started to go on for what seemed eternity, till around 11 a.m. The goal scores became nuisance, with each team scoring record highs of 22 or 25 each. Guinness Book of Records hasn't heard of this yet. Just about that time when mothers call out for lunch, he started breaking his vows secretly. So did everyone. Some started talking about food, but the decent ones just wriggled on the grasses and scratched their bellies. After a while, he started feeling dizzy and sick. He was perspiring and unusually felt weaker. "Come on," he tried to comfort himself. "I fasted Good Fridays before. Okay, I stayed until 10 a.m. with no food. Give me credit there." But this one just overwhelmed him. He lay on the grass, of course seeking sympathy from the entire group, and told them that he couldn't function anymore because he was dying. Oh well, the ego had to be saved for later days, you know. He added some groaning and moaning to his mumbles of sharing all his toys, Balina, QUSO, etc., if he died. Everyone freaked when he started talking about giving away his toys. "He is going to die. Boy, let's get some water." Blah, blah. He went on exaggerating his sickness. Amidst that confusion, they heard rambling sounds of motorcycles. "Americano, Americano, they're coming this way, and maybe they can give us food," someone chanted. Of course, by now everyone wanted at least a drink of water, and with the help of miracles, maybe whatever the Americano bikers would toss at them. Legend had it that bikers carried food with them on their bikes. No, they were not Americanos. They were the elite of Asmara. To be a biker in Asmara at that time, one must be out of the world and hip. Everyone shouted on top of his lungs, calling for help. At first the bikers simply waved and made more dusts and rambling noises. But one of them slowed down and hesitated to follow the squad. The assembly of little men fell silent for a while, hoping he would turn his way towards them. He gestured to the second from last biker and said something to him. They both slowed down with a lot of vroom vroom noises. Eventually, the whole squad, about 5 men, headed towards the kids. The little bunch were wowed by the show-offs the bikers displayed to impress, and it worked. Everyone, including the sick kid, forgot his sickness and watched admiringly of the bikes. A tall, nicely framed guy circled around and asked the bunch what they were doing out there. The kids were focused on the rambling of the bikes that they went speechless for a while, trying to learn which finger was making the vroom vroom noise. After a while, one of the kids, in a breathless utterance, pointed a finger to the sick kid and said, "He is dying, and he told us to take all his toys if he died." The bikers laughed because the dying kid was standing erect watching the bikes like the rest of his peers. One of the bikers jokingly asked where they planned to bury him, which invited good laughs from the rest of the squad, especially the tall guy. Amidst little diplomatic dialogues, the tall guy asked the kid, "Where is your home, Piccolo?" The kid answered that he was so and so's younger brother, thinking that he may recognize his brother's name, but the biker didn't. He asked, "Are you from the AG family?" The kid shook his head disapprovingly and recited all his siblings' names. The biker studied the kid and asked him whether he would be able to walk home, to which the kid responded, shaking his head no. The tall guy then smiled, turned to his peers and said, "You guys go ahead. I will drop him home and join you shortly." "Where will you be at?" They traded some fancy words amongst each other, and he ordered the kid to climb on the bike. The dying kid hopped on the bike with no struggle. No afterthoughts whatsoever whether he gave away his secret or not. The tall guy instructed the kid to hold tight around the belly and lean his head on his back. So did the kid. The vroom vroom noise followed with a spit of dust started his first motorcycle ride. All his peers waved, and he could tell he was going to be the talk of the neighborhood peers for weeks to come. He felt he rode through the air with his head tightly pressed to the tall guy's back, and he could feel the ecstasy and jubilation of riding a motorcycle. The biker briefly asked him the whereabouts of his home, but the rest of the ride was one of the most adventurous accomplishments of his early childhood. As they got closer to his home, he was afraid of being noticed by his family. That could lead to a lot of questions, spoiling the adventurous mood. So he asked he be dropped off a couple of houses before his home. The tall guy turned a corner and slowed down to a halt. He gave the bike one more vroom that sent a shudder through the kid's whole body and instructed him to jump down carefully. The tall guy looked at the kid and asked him if he ever rode a motorcycle before. The kid shook his head no, and the biker then smiled and asked him whether he would tell his friends how the ride was. The kid looked down with an obvious giveaway of his intents on his face. "Get better now, go to your home," the tall guy ordered. The kid started waving his small hand, but the tall guy actually reached and shook it amicably. "Go home now," he ordered, and vroom off he left. As he grew older, he started asking about a tall guy who biked during the days of Asmara just before the war really broke out. Silly of him, there were a handful of them, and he didn't quite get who it was that gave him his first bike ride. Most importantly, though, all the bikers and hip Asmarinos disappeared to the field and or were killed on the streets. To this day, he asks himself, who would break his own fun time to care for a mischievous kid and drop him home? A sense of sadness tensed his face, recognizing the fact that Eritrea had paid such personalities and characters to get where it is. He got anxiously nostalgic, remembering the tall guy's face and the sound of the bike. Vroom. His hand remembered the handshake, and something inside him ached when he realized that it might be his turn to fill in the big shoes. And a full realization dawned onto him that the struggle of Eritrea is, and was nothing more than a display of care for one another. His eyes darted back to his sister's familiar face that he missed for quite some time. He chuckled, remembering their younger days. She has grown up just like he did. Her glistening pure eyes that reflected the firework lights humbled him. He grabbed her 2 ears, and with a family tradition, kissed her cheek softly. Yes, Eritrea is free forever, and it will always be. Johanna, to you for staying stronger, he whispered to himself. For a moment, he made a futile attempt to believe the muscular tall guy hoisting the flag could be the one he was thinking of. You never know about these people. They even survived the 6th offensive. Maybe it could be him, he thought to himself. But the adult in him persuaded him to knock it off. Whatever haunts everyone about Eritrea are symbols of her own little experiences. Little scattered ones, but mighty enough to collectively drive anyone passionately crazy in saying, I am from Eritrea, with a proud chest. With the notion that big brothers and sisters took upon the burdens, challenges, pains, and sacrifices on behalf of all of Eritrea, and never have once whispered a pay me back tone. As the deafening fireworks roared on, he silently prayed that there be more vroom vroom noises and spits of dust in the free Eritrea for all the kids to see for themselves. May God/Allah give us his strength to do what we have been taught by the selfless, he muttered quietly.